Praying to Swami to guide us all along this study circle, Sai Bhagavatham. Brother Sham, all yours.
Sairam, everyone. Last time we walked with Satya from childhood to youth, from Kamalapuram to Urvakonda, and then to that moment in October 20, 1940, when Satya declared, "I am Sai Baba." With that, one chapter ended and another began. He left school behind and soon he left home. Swami moved into Karnam Subbamma's house. Visitors poured in. The little home could no longer hold the devotion that was gathering. In 1945, Subbamma and Kamalamma offered a piece of land. A shed was built, modest in form but monumental in meaning. And this happened at a time when his name was beginning to travel. Swami now had his first mandir. Today we march through the 1940s. The Pata Mandir days.
It's April 1948. We're at the small railway station in Pendukonda, Andhra Pradesh. The morning passenger train has just pulled away. Arun and Lakshmi, a couple from Bombay, anxiously step onto the platform with a small suitcase and glance around. They proceed to the bus stand. They see Raghavendra Garu and Sitamma seated calmly on a wooden bench under the shade of a tamarind tree. Lakshmi and Arun approach cautiously. Let's listen in.
Namaskaram, sir. Is this where Bukapatnam bus stops to pick up passengers?
Yes. Unless the driver decided to go to Tirupati or it has broken down in the middle of the road. It happens all the time.
Come, sister, sit here. The bus might take a while.
Lakshmi and Arun sit a respectful distance from them. Sitamma offers them some chakodi from a small tiffin carrier, just enough of an icebreaker to melt the distance. The four fall into a gentle conversation.
We are on our way to see Satya Sai Baba. It's our first time. We are new to him.
Wonderful. We are heading there too. It's become a second home to us now. We know him since his Urvakonda days.
Oh, my dear, you are not new to him. In fact, I'm sure he has called you both. You will see.
Acha. Friends in Bangalore said he's like Shirdi Sai Baba.
They said he reads minds, gives vibhuti, say things no one could know. My parents are Shirdi Sai devotees, so we had to come and see for ourselves.
Like Shirdi Baba? He is Shirdi Baba. Just younger, head full of curly hair, and he laughs more often.
He plays like a child, but corrects like a parent, sometimes in the same breath.
Oh, what's the ashram like?
The roof is just tin sheets, has a mud floor, 2 or 3 rooms, but the whole cosmos is inside.
We sleep where we can, veranda, courtyard, under the stars outside. Once I woke up with a frog on my pillow. I complained to Swami. He said, Sitama, even frogs need affection and love here.
And one morning, I found a blanket on me. It was Swami's own. I thanked him. He just smiled and he said, "This is your mother's house. Why would I not take care of you?"
And you never know what he will say or do. Today we eat by the river, he suddenly declares, and we are all rushing to pack for a picnic. Or he might start making garlands. All of us are then gathering flowers and looking for yards of thread.
Oh, that's nice. What are the food arrangements, or should we bring our own?
No. Everyone helps in cooking. Tamarind rice, curd rice, chutneys, simple curries. Sometimes just hot water until Swami says, "Let's go make sambar." You know, we never run out of food. There is more than enough for everyone.
Acha, that sounds wonderful. I can help too. I run a small restaurant in Bombay. You know, I make a excellent upma. Even my mother-in-law likes it.
Something tells me Swami and you are going to get along just fine.
Do we pay for food? How much does it cost?
My God, never mention money. Ask that, and even your upma won't save you from Swami's glare. Don't worry, he is the perfect host.
At this point, Arun excuses himself and walks over to the tea stall. A few minutes later, he returns with 4 steel tumblers of hot filter coffee.
Sir, would you join us for some coffee? It might be a long wait.
Thank you. That is very kind of you.
You know, it's perfect. Strong, not too sweet, though not as good as the coffee that Swami makes some mornings for us.
Can we go to the river from the mandir? I want to see the Chitravati.
Yes, we go there every evening. But the river is just the setting. Swami tells stories from the epics. We all sing. Then sometimes suddenly he pulls out hot, delicious Mysore pak or laddus from the sand.
Not always. One night he gave me a tiny Rama idol and he said, "Keep this with your bad temper. It needs company."
It all sounds so well. We can't wait to meet him.
Acha. So, he's not always saintly and serious.
No, not at all. Swami once tied my husband's angavastram to the tail of a calf and it ran off with it. Swami stood there saying, "You hold on to doubt tighter than your clothing."
He really is like Krishna, mischievous one moment, divinely deep the next. Sometimes you laugh and then you suddenly find yourself crying without knowing why.
What about music? We both love music. I grew up singing abhangs. Are there bhajans?
Oh, more like full-length songs. Morning and evening. No harmoniums, just singing voices. Some sweet, some, well, you see.
No. That Govind Rao sings without paying any heed to talam or ragam. Totally apaswaram. But Swami accepts devotion in all forms.
You must sing your abhangs. Swami would love that. Whenever a new devotee, Swami comes, Swami asks them to sing and teach others also new songs.
Acha, are there many people there now?
You know, some days barely 20. During festivals, maybe 50. But even with 5 people, it feels full. Not crowded, full.
Full? Full of what?
Joy, divinity, happy smiles, songs echoing of tin roofs and mud balls, women drawing rangoli before sunrise, going to Chitravati for bathing, children running barefoot, and Swami, God Himself, walking right among them like He is one of us.
Oh, you'll see. People arrive with curiosity, but something shifts and changes. They start sweeping floors, cooking, singing, as if they've lived there forever.
My grandmother used to say that when she saw Shirdi Baba, it wasn't like meeting a saint. This sounds the same.
You arrive and seeing Swami, realize you are home at last.
Just a word of warning. On the bus, not everyone wants to hear about Swami. Don't engage in conversation about him. Just say that you're visiting some relatives in Bukkapatnam.
Oh, thank you, sir. I'll be very, very careful.
The bus arrives. Dust rises. On Sitama's insistence, Arun and Lakshmi board first and find seats near the back.
I'm not sure about this, Lakshmi. This is either the biggest mistake of our lives or the greatest adventure.
Your dream couldn't have been clearer. Shirdi Baba pointing to a map and saying, "Meet me there. This is no mistake. Let's just do it."
Okay, let's do it.
Meanwhile, outside, Sitama and Raghavendra carry their belongings and make their way to the bus entrance.
So many newcomers these days, from Bangalore, Madras, and now Bombay. I wonder if the mandir will overflow soon. What will happen?
Henry, why do you worry about these things? Swami always has a plan, and he likes to keep it secret till the last minute. All we can do is enjoy his love and grace and to be with him.
I know. He's always going to be a mystery. But this time, if Swami gives me a laddu, I'm not sharing it with anyone, including you.
Ayo, don't you know? Swami always has enough laddus for his devotees, especially me.
Many hours later, they reach the banks of the Chitravati. Luckily, the riverbed is dry in places, and they cross it on foot, then make their way to the Pata Mandir, where evening bhajans are in full swing. Let's listen in.
So, Arun, what do you think of our Swami?
There is no denying what I experienced. He is definitely Shirdi Sai Baba, for sure.
I told you so.
Arun, you should always listen to your wife and important matters. That is why Swami calls her Grihalakshmi.
Or in my case, Sitamma.
Imagine for a moment that we held in our hands a written mission statement by Rama or Krishna. What will it say? It so happens we have a similar artifact from the Sai avatar written during the Pathamandir years. What was it? What does it mean? Veda will now guide us through that story.
Satya Sai Baba was 20 years old. His devotees started arriving, young and old, rich and poor. Some took him to various towns and cities. Baba's elder brother, Seshamaraju, was working as a Telugu teacher at Urvakonda. He could not grasp Baba's divinity at all. He became extremely concerned because of his fraternal love, that his simple village-grown brother was whisked away to various towns full of temptations. The press was also starting to spread negative comments about Baba. Seshamaraju did not like any of those. So, he wrote a letter to Baba to warn him about the fame and pitfalls, some lessons that Seshamaraju learned about life and the human shortcomings. Baba waited for a while and drafted a reply. It was dated May 25th, 1947. No doubt it was written to his brother, but the content was appropriate for all. Yes, all who are devoted to him. The letter was handwritten in Telugu by Baba. It ran 5 pages back to back and contained a small Telugu poem as well. The letter was a mission statement. The letter defined his promise to the world. The letter describes the real nature of the phenomenon that appeared for all of us. Here are some salient messages from that letter. My dear one, it starts, I received the communication that you wrote and sent. I found in it surging floods of your devotion and affection, with the undercurrents of doubts and anxiety. The reply was contextually correct. It begs a question to all of us. When we write and pray to Him, do we still harbor some doubts and anxiety? In page 2 was this beautiful poem, which will be set to music, and you'll hear it soon. It is impossible to plumb the hearts and discover the nature of jnanis, yogis, ascetics, saints, sages, and the like. Each one judges according to his own angle. We have to stick to our own path, our own wisdom, our own resolution without getting affected by popular appraisal. A sound advice indeed to all the spiritual aspirants as to how they should behave. People have no patience to judge because lust, anger, and conceit cloud their vision. So they write all kinds of things. They have to be pitied and not condemned. We too should not attach any value to them and take them to heart as you seem to do. Wrong negative comments born out of human ignorance should be actively ignored. Truth will triumph someday. Untruth can never win. Untruth might appear to overpower the truth, but its victory will fade away and truth will establish itself. Self-reliance and beneficial activity are the traits of great people, Mahatmas. Great people are guided by wisdom and their acts are always holy. The praise and the blame of populace do not touch Atma, the reality. A very bold statement indeed from a 20-year-old boy declaring boldly that he is verily the Atma. I will not give up my mission, nor my determination. No one can comprehend my glory. Whoever he is, whatever his method of inquiry, and however long he attempts, you can yourself see the full glory in the coming years.
అఖిల మానవులకు ఆనందమునగూర్చి రక్షించుచుండుటే దీక్ష నాకు సన్మార్గమును వీడి చరించు వారల పట్టి కాపాడుటే వ్రతము నాకు బీద సాధలకైన పెనుబాధ తొలగించి లేమిని బాపుటే ప్రేమ నాకు నియమనిష్టలతోడ నను గొల్చు వారిని కాపాడుచుండుటే ఘనత నాకు మంచి చెడ్డలు కూడా మనసులో సమముగా భావించుచుండుటే భక్తి నాకు
Swami further assures us, and I quote, "This means that I will never give up those who attach themselves to me. I will not give up my mission nor my determination. I know I will carry them out." Unquote.
What a beautiful declaration. I'm sure you would not have failed to notice when he says, I want to give bliss and ananda, it is not for one sect, it is not for one country. Akila Manavaluku, all mankind. And when he wants to say the work that I love, he says, Bida sadalakaina benu, bada tolakinchi lemini bapute premanaku. I just want to remove the suffering of the poor and grant them whatever they lack. His contribution in education and medical facilities and water supply is truly legendary. And he says his glory is nothing but protection for all those who worship with niyamanishtalatod, conduct which is good, and steadfastness. He ends the letter saying that there was no need for him to write these words, but he wrote to his brother so that he's not pained by not receiving a reply. In the letter, he promises that I will never give up those who attach themselves to me. I will never give up on my devotees. How true this statement is in Karnam Subbama's life. Karnam Subama was a blessed devotee of Baba who lived in Puttaparthi, just 2 doors away. She cared for Swami as if he was her own son. He looked after not only Baba, but also those who flocked to Parthi to have his darshan. In fact, she had Baba stay in her house before old mandir was built in 1944. Baba said, Subama's devotion to me is unparalleled. Though she was not physically related to this body, emotionally, she was closely attached to me. She used to think of me day in and day out. No doubt, she had immense love and devotion to the Lord, and Baba said to her that he would satisfy her one desire, that is, to have Baba's darshan in her last moment. As days rolled by, Subama fell ill and her health started deteriorating. She was taken to Bukkapatnam by her relatives. Soon, she was bedridden and unable to move. She became delirious. In her delirious state, she was talking only about Baba. The disease could not make a dent in her devotion. Baba was away at that time. The faith did not falter, and she breathed her last without Baba by her side. So everybody thought. Some of the villagers recalled Baba's promise. Some talked about it mockingly. Some pitied Subama for her faith. At that time, Swami informed people around him, I have to get back to Puttaparthi urgently. He came to Parthi and went to Bukkapatnam 3 days after the announcement of Subama's death. Her body still waiting for final rites. Baba sat by her side on the floor and called her name twice. Much to everyone's astonishment, Subama opened her eyes. Her hands extended to grasp Baba's palm firmly and began to stroke it. From his fingers, the cool celestial water flowed into her mouth. She closed her eyes one final time and joined the ranks of the released. What a display of Baba's determination to keep his promise and the devotee's patience and perseverance. As always, divinity surrendered to devotion.
What a poignant and emotional story of promises made and promises kept. We are about to bid goodbye to the Patha Mandir, and what better way to do that than to hear another song?
Shirdi Vas
Most Swami devotees have no doubt heard about Subbamma and her role in the drama of Swami's life. But there's another equally important woman with a very similar sounding name, but from a very different background in Swami's early years. I'm referring to the less well-known Sakamma, and Suchitra is here to tell us about her remarkable story.
Today I want to share the story of Doddamane Sakamma, known lovingly as Kafipudi Sakamma, a woman of deep faith and discipline. She was a successful coffee planter from Coorg, a place in Karnataka, India, and a generous philanthropist. Her selfless service earned her notable honors, both from Maharaja of Mysore and the British government. She was also the first woman appointee to the Royal Mysore Assembly in 1928. But her most beautiful chapter began when she encountered Swami in a mysterious and divine way, marking the beginning of a sacred bond of love, service, and surrender. One morning, while doing her puja, Sakamma was told two strangers have arrived, a sage-like elderly man and a teenage boy who drove a car with an unusual nameplate, Kailasha Committee. After Sakamma did her namaskara in front of the sage, he asked her to join the committee and pay a donation of rupees 1000. She signed the membership papers, but he stopped her from paying, saying the time would come. They then disappeared as suddenly as they had arrived. Years later, while visiting a friend in Bangalore, Sakamma saw the same young man again. It was then that Swami revealed the truth. He had appeared as both the sage and the boy. He related the entire encounter in detail and gently asked for the promised donation. From that moment on, Sakamma's faith became unshakable. Among many tales of Sakamma's love and discipline, this one stands out for Swami's playful mischief. Sakamma would personally cook simple, nutritious food in the old mandir kitchen and ensure Swami rested every afternoon. She was strict when needed, but always caring, looking after Swami's well-being with quiet devotion and gentle care of a mother. Swami would often play pranks on his devotees. One night in Puttaparthi, Swami told a few devotees that he was feeling hungry and was craving for dosas. Someone said, "Swami, what if Sakamma finds out? She won't be happy." Swami smiled and said, "Don't worry, she's asleep. She won't know." Eventually, the devotees agreed, only after Swami promised that not a single sound would be heard from the cooking. The next morning, Sakamma bought breakfast as usual. But Swami simply said, "I'm not hungry." Then with a playful smile, he added, "The Kuppam family gave me dosas last night." Sakamma was not amused. Realizing her kitchen rules had been broken, she gave the Kuppam family a good scolding for feeding Swami at that hour. The poor devotees stood there, heads down, taking it all in, while Swami sat back with a twinkle in his eyes, quietly enjoying the playful drama he had stirred up. Sakamma was a perfect blend of love, discipline, and devotion. If Swami got too caught up with devotees and skipped meals, she would gently but firmly guide him aside and make sure he had his meals. To her, Swami wasn't just the divine, he was also her little boy. And Swami loved to play the part. Once Swami pretended to have a fever just to watch her fuss, check his forehead, and run for medicines. She was so protective, she once asked him to wear red so that she could never lose him in a crowd and her eyes could always find her beloved Swami. One evening, Sakamma joined the Chitravati session in Puttaparthi. Baba was explaining the inner significance of some verses of the Bhagavad Gita. Sakamma raised a thoughtful question. She gently asked, "Swami, how could Lord Krishna recite all 700 verses of the Bhagavad Gita right in the middle of the battlefield? Wouldn't the enemy have attacked?" Swami didn't reply right away. Instead, he reached out in the sand and slowly pulled out a stunning sculpture, Krishna seated on a chariot teaching Arjuna. Holding it up for all to see, Baba explained, "Just as the sculpture appeared in an instant, Krishna too couldn't control time. To Arjuna, the Gita felt long and full, but for the others on the battlefield, only moments passed. In that moment, Sakama understood when the divine wills it, even time slowly slows down and waits in reverence. As a businesswoman, Sakama combined practical wisdom with spiritual insight. Already clear in purpose and ahead in vision, she was among the earliest devotees to recognize the need for a permanent ashram for Bhagwan. In 1946, with remarkable foresight, she bought 3.86 acres of land for rupees 5,000, knowing that more devotees would come to see Swami. She sent skilled carpenters from Bangalore to assist in the construction of Prashanti Nilayam. She made sure the land documents were solid, so solid that many of those terms still hold good even today. But her generosity didn't stop there. She also helped set up a radio park and a public library in the nearby village of Bukkapatnam, always mindful of the needs beyond the ashram walls. At an earlier point, she had wished Swami would shift the ashram to Bangalore, but Swami gently reminded her of a promise he had made to Mother Ishwarama, that he would never leave Puttaparthi, his chosen home. I would like to conclude by saying in every stone of Prashanti, Sakama's spirit endures, a mother to the divine, a servant to the mission, and a living example of love in action. Let's watch a short clip of Dr. Aarti, a well-known expert in research and soft skills training, sharing her thoughts on Sakama as a woman empowered.
Kafi Pudi Sakama. She was a widow with no children of a very, very rich businessman of Kurk, and she was all alone. She had to manage such a huge property, and she built the business. She made it double, triple, 4 times what it was. She was the first person to bring coffee to Bengaluru and Mysuru, Kolar area, and now all over South India, coffee is a big business. You have Kafi Pudi Sakama Circle also in Bengaluru. You have so many anath ashramas, boys hostels, girls hostels, and all these built by her. She was also given Kaisar-e-Hind by the British people, and then the Mysore Maharaja honored her, and all her life she did service and service and service. You see her photo. She wears a beautiful sari, a nice bindi, a most rich, stinkingly rich woman, so adept in business. Imagine how she managed an empire, and she was still so sattvic, so culturally oriented. She used to go to Puttaparthi, and in that Sai Baba ashram, she would cut vegetables and do service there. I call that empowerment.
Like Subbamma's house earlier, the Patha Mandir too began bursting at its seams. It was also subject to frequent flooding due to its low-lying location. But thanks to Sakama, it was time for a change of venue. It was time for Prashanti Nilayam to spring to life. And we have Chandra here to tell us how that came to pass. It's an extraordinary story for the ages.
Thank you, Shyam. Saram to all. My loving pranams to the lotus feet of Swami. I'll pick up the story from here. I will briefly present how Prashanti Nilayam came to be, from Baba's vision as narrated to Lakshmaya of Puttaparthi, as early as 1943 to its realization in 1950. With my background in engineering, I'll provide a perspective of how humanly impossible tasks were accomplished by the vision, engineering skills, and the miracles of Baba. Before we delve into the topic, we need to be aware of the landscape at the time. The year is 1945. Second World War has just ended. India's freedom struggle is still going on. Tungabhadra Dam was in the planning stages. Puttaparthi is a small village. Baba is in his teens, and news about the avatar is spreading steadily. Baba had moved to the Patha Mandir to receive his devotees. Besides Sakama, 2 other notable contributors are Raja of Sandur, an early devotee who contributed financially, and Tirumala Iyengar, a civil engineer working at Tungabhadra Dam, who contributed his engineering services. This is the donated parcel of land on which the mandir was to be constructed, with a hillock in the background. In 1943, when Baba was just 17 years old, he had told Lakshmaya, pointing to this hillock, "The Sai Pravesh will transform this region into Prashanti Pradesh. There will rise a Bhavan where lakhs of people from all over India, why only India, from all over the world will come and wait for Sai Darshan. Lakshmaya expressed his doubt, but Baba asserted, "You will have to believe when you have to stand where we are now, trying to catch a glimpse of me standing on the porch of that Bhavan." One day, Baba was visiting the sands of Chitravati with a group of devotees. During that gathering, Baba announced that a new mandir will be built, a two-storied building with a larger central prayer hall and a portico in front. Baba then sketched in sand the design of the new mandir. This sketch was subsequently converted to a proper engineering drawing by Tirumala Iyengar. Tirumala Iyengar had many misgivings about Baba's design and its execution, for he thought Baba was not aware of the complexities associated with his design. Being an engineer, he proposed alternative designs, but Baba firmly rejected all the alternative designs. Some of Tirumala Iyengar's concern about Baba's design centered on the use of granite blocks, not to mention his worry about procuring and transporting building materials and hoisting heavy materials manually. Baba was intimately involved in every aspect, starting from its design to procurement to transportation and construction. With Baba's building design finalized, engineers were looking for a source of granite nearby. They found boulders that needed to be blasted using dynamite into smaller blocks. Let us hear from Brother Bishu Prusti of Radio Sai narrating the story of Baba's miracle associated with this part of the grace.
To find that perfect rock for the mandir comes Bhagavan's instructions, specific instructions. There is this specific rock on the banks of Chitravati. Go and find this one. And when they go as per Bhagavan's directions, they see on that spot a huge rock. It is 60 feet high. The Hanuman statue is 65 feet high. So it was almost as huge as the Hanuman statue. 60 feet high and 100 feet in diameter. That was the hillock that Bhagavan had chosen, earmarked for the mandir. And now the problem was how to break it into building blocks to create the mandir walls. It was a practice in those days to bring down big mountains, hills by bursting a dynamite. So that's how you create pieces of the rocks to be used for construction. So they go to Swami and say, Swami, if your permission is there, we would want to use the dynamite and break this hillock. And Swami says, no dynamite, just wait. No further instructions. You only had to wait. A day passed. The next day, in the night, something absolutely unusual, absolutely unexpected unfolded. A huge downpour started, and it was no ordinary rain, it was a deluge. And it was as if the clouds were bursting and breaking down and coming down, dashing, and it was accompanied by thunder and lightning. In the midst of this, there was a huge, powerful thunderbolt. This thunderbolt which came straight with such amazing velocity that it hit straight this rock and it broke it into pieces.
Besides the granite blocks, Baba's design required girders to support the roofing of the prayer hall and the second floor. Just to level set folks who may not be familiar with the word girder, a girder is a horizontal beam used in construction. It is the main horizontal beam support of any structure. Steel girders were chosen for Baba's design. Heavy steel girders, 40 foot long, were fabricated and sent by rail from Tiruchi to Pennakonda, which was the closest railway station to Puttaparthi. The girders had arrived and were awaiting transportation by road. The next big hurdle was in the transportation of these girders to the construction site in Puttaparthi, a distance of only 16 miles. Transportation of girders on roads would normally require heavy equipment like lorries and cranes. To fully understand the challenge, one should imagine the condition of the roads around Puttaparthi of 1947. Unpaved roads, narrow roads with delicately built houses on both sides, sharply angled curves, dilapidated culverts, and a low-level causeway. Trucks or lorries loaded with these heavy girders risked serious accidents like skidding, capsizing, and collapsing. They were unable to find anyone willing to take the risk to transport these girders, so the girders lay in wait at Penukonda. Don't know for how long. This challenge was also overcome with Baba's immense grace. In the nearby town of Anantapur, in the early hours of day, the engineer woke up to a loud noise in front of his house. A huge crane en route to Tungabhadra Dam had broken down. The driver was grappling with the engine in vain and sought the help of the engineer. The engineer, a devotee of Baba, thought that the crane was Baba sent for transporting the girders. It was agreed that if the crane would be repaired, then the girders would be transported. The engineer hurried to Puttaparthi, prayed to Baba, who materialized some vibhuti and gave it to him. The engineer hurried back with the vibhuti and smeared it on the engine and asked the driver to start the engine. The engine started and the crane moved. The surprised driver went happily to Penukonda railway station, picked up the girders with the giant arms of the crane, and started towards Puttaparthi. The sight of this crane carrying the giant girders was a great surprise for the villagers, who greeted it by lining up along the roadside. The crane miraculously passed over the culverts, negotiated the hairpin bends, lurched over the slushes, and puffed its way up the Karnataka Nagapalli hill without any accidents. The crane approached the river Chitravati, and the driver, fearing the worst, just stopped the crane, a few miles short of Puttaparthi. Let me point to an excerpt from Sanatana Sarathi that highlights the reason why. The only mode of transportation to cover the final few miles to Prashanti Nilayam was a bullock cart, like this across the Bukkapatnam tank and the river Chitravati. When Professor Kasturi visited Puttaparthi for the first time in the year 1948, he also took this 3-mile bullock cart from Bukkapatnam. But then, only the luggage was laden to the cart and the devotees were forced to walk behind due to heavy, bumpy and rough ride on the sands of Chitravati river, where bullocks were unable to pull the cart. So there was no road nor bridge, just sand. Now imagine a truck laden with heavy girders crossing the river. Impossible. I should say humanly impossible. Then Baba himself got into the crane, sat next to the driver, and handled the steering wheel, navigating miraculously across the river. I would say, thrilled by the touch of the Lord, the crane moved without a hitch, unloaded the girders at the work spot, and went back. With all the building materials in place, construction of the mandir progressed for a while until the next hurdle. It was time to hoist the girders onto the 20-foot high walls. This time there was no crane. This was one of the fears expressed earlier by the engineers. When Baba wills, there is a way. Miraculously, hundreds of laborers came from Tungabhadra Dam site to Puttaparthi to help. Using primitive methods of ropes and pulleys, they hoisted the girders with each pull amid shouts of Jai Sai Ram. The chant arose from hundreds of devotees in the presence of Baba. Finally, the girders were set in place. Now let us see a rendering of the time-lapse video of the construction of the mandir. Finally, the construction that seemed humanly impossible was completed in 1950, made possible only by the divine will and grace. Every potential engineering roadblock was miraculously overcome. All fears turned up harmless. The dedication of devotees and Satya Sai Baba's miracles ensured the successful completion of Prashanti Nilayam. 7 years later, during the inauguration of Prashanti Nilayam on his 25th birthday on November 23, 1950, Lakshmaya realized Baba's vision had come true. He saw Baba standing on the porch as Baba had predicted in 1943. After the completion of the mandir, the engineers accepted that Baba's original design was better than theirs. Baba had a greater sense of perspective and a finer aesthetic vision. Therefore, it could be said that Baba was the real architect and engineer of Prashanti Nilayam. Many have described this as his first manifestation of his engineering skills. I would like to point out that the group of engineers whose design Baba rejected was no ordinary bunch. Led by the eminent Tirumala Iyengar, who upon completion of his work on the Tungabhadra Dam site became the chief engineer for the Hirakud Dam, the longest dam in the world. He was awarded Padma Bhushan for his service by Government of India in 1956. Today, Prashanti Nilayam stands as a beacon of light, a lighthouse guiding his devotees from across the world to navigate the hidden rocks and choppy waters of life and make steady spiritual progress. Thanks for listening. Sai Ram.
Sai Ram. So much to digest from that couple who had a dream, from Shirdi Baba to Subhama to Sakama. Oh my God. And then finally to how Prashanti Nilayam came to happen. I don't think we'll have really much time for discussion today, but let us listen to at least one story of a simple cobbler who was so moved by what happened. And to hear the details of the cobbler's story, I'm going to turn it over to Triguna Ghosh. Sai Ram.
Sai Ram. This incident took place when Swamiji was still in his teens. This gives us another glimpse into his love and compassion. There was a cobbler who was plying his trade in the corner of a street in Bangalore. He happened to see Baba in a bungalow opposite to the place where he sat. There were many cars being driven from the bungalow. Streams of people were going in and coming out. He saw that the faces of those who came out on the road were bright and happy. They were talking about Sai Baba and were saying that he was an incarnation of Lord Krishna. The cobbler too ventured to enter the gate and peeped nervously into the hall where Baba was seated on a special chair with men on one side and women on the other. His eyes fell on Baba, just as Baba too looked at him. Baba immediately arose and came forward to the door where the cobbler stood. Baba then took the little dried up garland of flowers the cobbler held in his hand even before the man offered it. Baba asked the cobbler in Tamil, the only language the cobbler knew, what he wanted from Baba. Everyone was surprised that the cobbler expressed himself so well when he responded to Baba. Indeed, it must have been Baba's grace that gave the cobbler the courage to do so. The cobbler said without any hesitation, "Please come to my house and accept something." Baba patted his back lovingly and said, "All right, I shall come." Then Baba went back into the hall. The cobbler waited for a long time because he wanted to tell Baba where his house was. He also wanted to know when Baba might visit so he might clean his house and be ready to receive him. But he finally had to hurry back to his corner to keep watch over his heap of leather pieces and old shoes. He was pushed and jostled by the rush of visitors. No one listened to him when he said that Baba had promised to pay a visit to his hut. The cobbler wanted them to find out from Baba when he would be coming. Some laughed at him and some said he was drunk or mad. Days passed and the cobbler gave up all hope of meeting Baba again. Suddenly, one day, a car drove up right in front of the aged cobbler. He was taken aback, afraid that it must be the police or some city official wanting to prosecute him for plying his trade on the pavement. But it was Sai Baba. Baba asked the cobbler to get into the car. The cobbler was so confused that he could not even open his mouth to direct the driver to his hut. But Baba seemed to know. Stopping the car by the side of the road, Baba got down and hastened over the cobblestones in the by-lane to the exact hut in the midst of the slum. The cobbler ran forward to warn his family. Baba created some fruits and sweets and gave them as gifts to the members of the family. Baba then sat on a plank near the wall. Baba blessed the cobbler who was shedding tears of joy. To please him, Baba accepted a few bananas that the cobbler had brought from a nearby shop. Baba then left the hut, which was thereafter made a place of pilgrimage for the entire neighborhood. Jai Sai Ram.
Thank you, Trigna. So we don't need to be special for Swami to recognize us. It's amazing how so many people from different walks of life were drawn to Swami. I know it's already 13, so I think we should hold our thoughts and then perhaps give whatever comes to our heart at the next session that we have, and we'll allocate more time for discussion. So I'll turn it over to Brother Sham now to conclude. Sai Ram.
So, as we have seen today, after returning from Urvakonda, Swami was relentlessly moving forward. His stated mission was taking shape quietly and without fanfare. But beyond Prasanthi Nilayam, events were reshaping the world with more drama. 2 atomic bombs were dropped to end one war. Empires crumbled, new nations emerged, China turned red, India gained her freedom through Satyagraha, but lost Gandhi to an assassin's bullet, and hundreds of thousands in a blood-drenched partition. New institutions arose, the United Nations, the World Bank, IMF, NATO, forging a new order with trade, nuclear weapons, and political power blocks. In America, a young Jackie Robinson walked into a baseball field, breaking century-old barriers. And in a quiet lab in the University of Pennsylvania, a massive electronic machine called ENIAC blinked to life. The computer revolution had begun. The world we now live in was taking shape. Digital, diverse, and dangerous. But Swami was engineering a different foundation, a moral one, rooted in Satya, Dharma, Shanti, Prema, and Ahimsa. We are at a crucial point in the storytelling of Swami's avatarhood. Perhaps we can hit pause and devote the next session recapping all this history that we have covered with such speed, and we can spend some good time in collective reflection and open discussion. Thank you all for participating today with so much love and so much devotion. Sai Ram. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.